Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Well, what do you do when you're in the midst of a crisis, when everything has fallen apart around you, and even your own family and your best friends and former acquaintances and counselors have turned against you? And I'm telling you, the only way it looks is like you're going down. Well, that's what happened to David. In this psalm here, David is crying out to God for help, and he's praying a prayer, and he's writing a song, actually, as we know in Psalm 4. So let's read the first 5 verses of this, and we have a few more comments. Hear me when I call, O God of my righteousness. You have relieved me. You have enlarged me when I was in my distress. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. I think first, always, when a crisis comes, turn to the Lord. Call on His name. Ask Him for His help in the midst of your stress. And then verse 2, David seems to turn to those who turned against him, and he says to them, How long, O you sons of men, will you turn my glory to shame? How long will you love worthlessness and seek falsehood? Selah. So he turns to those who are following Absalom, his son. They're going after falsehood. They have been deceived. They're following something that's very vain. And whenever you do that, you will later always pay the consequence and pay the price for it. So he says, how long will you turn to those things? O sons of men, that refers to those men of rank, those leaders that are with Absalom that at one time were with David, and they turned against him. And so he kind of pleads, oh, sons of men, how long will you turn my glory to shame? And so David had been the glorious king. Now they were trying to shame him. But again, remember David already in chapter 3, he knew his glory was in the Lord, not in his position, not in his power, not in his friends. His glory was in the Lord. But people can try to turn it into shame. But know that the Lord has set apart for himself him who is godly. The Lord will hear when I call to him. And so he just reminds them, hey, listen, you're on the wrong side. I'm on the right side. I'm with the Lord. The Lord always helps those who call on him. And it's interesting because in verse 1 he says, hear me when I call, have mercy on me, hear my prayer. And then here in verse 3, the Lord will hear. You see the confidence of David saying, I know the Lord is going to hear me. Why? Because he has set apart him that is godly. David knew in his heart his sins were confessed. His heart was right with God. He knew that he was seeking to please the Lord with all of his heart, and God would answer his prayer. He had the promises of God for that. And my friend, you do too. And then in verse 4, be angry and do not sin. Meditate within your heart on your bed and be still. Selah. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord. Now he turns to those who are with him. Maybe he's hearing that some of the men that are with him are discouraged, they're upset, and some of them are very angry with what has happened. And they can't wait to get revenge upon Absalom and those who've turned against David. And so they're very angry. And so David says to them, and God says to us, and matter of fact, this verse is quoted in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26, be angry and do not sin. So be angry and do not sin. In other words, there is a righteous indignation that we should have, a holy anger against sin, but we are not to take our anger, our emotional feeling of getting even with someone out on others. And so be angry, yes, like the Lord was. He was angry with the people in the temple who were selling and desecrating the temple and made it a place of merchandise rather than a place of prayer. And we can have the holy indignation of God against sin that breaks our heart for the sinner. Be angry and do not sin. Meditate with your heart, within your heart on your bed. In other words, look into your own heart before you start accusing others of their sins and being angry, wanting revenge upon them. Look in your own heart. And then he says, and be still and confess your sins. That's what that means. Be still before God. Understand that only he can help you. And then he says, Selah. Now offer the sacrifices of righteousness, keep doing right, and you put your trust in the Lord, and you'll always come out on the right side. Well, that's my prayer that you and I will do as we face the tough crises of life. God bless, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.